actually, I think that was a violence. I think that was violence and visual imagery.
Okay, so it's on for gender confusion, and you're telling me that was a mistake?
Yes.
Okay.
That was miscategorized.
So given that we found one mistake, there could be others, like maybe Mrs. Noah's pockets. And I guess what I'm trying to say is before we jump into this and we have calls for questions and we have blanket on blocks, perhaps we should go book by book.
We didn't go book by the other list, and that was the staff admitting they made 450 mistakes.
I don't think that's
To
how
have
it's
those,
read.
that's exactly what they said. That's why we had to move them. Because they reviewed it and they said, hey, these books shouldn't be in the children's section.
So, but now we have these books, and we should probably, we have just abolished policy. Our D&O insurance is, their ears are burning right now. We are sort of in real deep water with no replaced policy, even if we want to say the policy is the Bill of Rights. We are going blind right now on a list of, I think, 130 books once the repetition is taken out. And the wide open for litigation doesn't even begin to cover it. I think we need to be as circumspect and granular as possible for the sake of both Miller Lowry Beach Insurance and this library system. Because I just was able to bring two to light that may ought to be moved. I don't know, but it's definitely not for gender confusion, and that's what they're on the list for.
I'm calling for a question about order. Do we need a motion on the floor before we can discuss these things?
Yeah, there's not a motion.
So we should have an motion. Okay, I move that we combine these lists and we move all of these books to the adult section.
All right, so that's a proper motion. Is there a second?
I second.
Seeing a motion in a second. All right, so in response to your question, I would say that this board acted in its previous meeting, acted on 150 books, 150 items, without going line by line. This is a continuation of that review process that was initiated by the Secretary of State's office with that letter. Our staff was involved in that, and now we are making the ultimate decision, which is what we're called to do.
Can you tell us what was given to Secretary Hargett? Like, what was the sort of, after that February 2nd meeting, then what happened as far as either you as the chair or Ms. James, like, submitting to the regional library or Secretary Hargett to say, hey, we did the review?
Yeah, I issued, the staff prepared a report, and I issued a cover letter emailing that report. I guess it was email, emailing that report to the Secretary of State's office and to the library.
So would that indicate the end of that review period, making these need to go through the request for reconsideration process?
No, I made it clear that we were continuing the review.
Did you hear back from Secretary Hargett?
I have not.
Okay, so does that feel a little bit like a gray area?
No, it doesn't. Not to me.
Mr. Chairman,
I'm sorry, Beth?
I believe at the last meeting, the discussion was that the report would go to the secretary with the intent of reviewing the additional books that both you and I believe Ms. Quesenberry also provided a couple of books on that list at this meeting. So it is not disingenuous to say that that's what we're here to do tonight.
And have you shifted on your intention to remove books to another area of the library as opposed to remove books from the library?
The motion was to move them to the adult collection.
Yeah, okay, but on your list originally, it was to actually eliminate them from the library, is that right?
Well, like I explained at the beginning, there's a column for state age-appropriate action,
Yeah.
and then a column for presidential executive order action. So the motion was to move them all to the adult section.
Okay, and then with regard to the question, there are probably errors in this in terms of extension. Like, isn't that a historical children's book on the
Airmen.
the Tuskegee Airmen, who are considered heroes of World War II, and it's not anything to do with gender confusion, and yes, it wound up on the list, and it's just it's a children's book on the history of the, if you don't know who the Tuskegee Airmen are, they were an all-black corps of Air Force officers who, Air Force pilots, you know, who went to incredible heroics during World War II. And how that winds up on a move to adult section is really a confusion to me when that's history of the United States.
Yeah, so it depicts violence, significant violence,
But
including
it's history.
excuse me, I'm answering a question I asked. Including incredibly detailed images of lynching. That I don't believe is appropriate for little children.
What is the age range for that book?
I'm sorry, Angela's asking for the floor.
So, okay, first of all, sorry, my librarian brain will not let this continue without saying that Harlem Hellfighters are from World War I. Sorry. But I mean, it is still the history of the United States of America. But it is concerning to me that it wound up in this cold kind of bit of books about gender confusion. Now there are also books on here that you say are about violence. And I just wonder if, like, what was the mechanism you used to find out which books you wanted to put on this list? Did you go through the list from the librarians and highlight things, or did you do searches? I'm just wondering how you ended up with these books and those you mixed in with them.
Yeah, I took the report the librarians produced and I reviewed hundreds of times.
How?
Allison, I believe you had a question?
Yes, so if we end up taking out books having to do with the Harlem Hellfighters or Murray's Room, things that have no amount of gender confusion, we take those away, what we seem to open ourselves up to some viewpoint discrimination, which is a violation of the First Amendment. So, yeah, we're just opening ourselves up. I just want to put that out there. If we took out everything that mentioned any form of gender, then okay, but we're not going to do that. We're just going to take certain aspects of it. And then like Mrs. Noah's pockets about mythological creatures that Mrs. Noah put in her pockets for the flood. It's great. It's cute. There's no one offended by that, but now we're taking that away from our community to read it, or at least children to.
So my understanding of the motion is that this is related to age appropriateness. It's not about gender confusion as per se. And this book, Cody identified based on information that would be difficult for a little child to understand from a violence point of view, such as lynching. Now, if the parent wants to have their child review that, it's still going to be available, because I believe the motion is not to remove the book, but to move the book to another section of the library that gives the adult in the family the opportunity to view and decide for that child what it is that they're going to do to present history to them.
And just to clarify that, it may be available to children if their parent has signed that their card can check out material from the adult section. So it may still be available to children if their parent has given that permission. So
Yeah, my understanding is that it's still in the control of the adult.
yes, Angela.
Thank you. I just think it's concerning that this list that you handed to us, when you handed it to us, you were like talking about the executive order that had to do with gender, and you were like, these are the books that have gender confusion, and now we see that that's not true for all of them. And so I think we're just concerned that we are catching things that don't fall under whatever gender confusion means. And I'm confused why we're having this conversation at all because of what Jeff just said, which is the way we have our policy set up now, no child can walk into our public libraries alone and check out a book. We have made it to where no child can walk in the library without an adult. They can't check out anything unless their parents have said, I allow my child to check out items. So I don't see the situation happening in RCLS where a kid is able to go into a library by themselves, find these books, read them without an adult nearby, check them out without an adult nearby. We've made that impossible. So why are we bothering with this?
So, Ms. James, so I was under the impression that a 12-year-old child could walk into our library and could walk around and could check books out with their card in either the young adult or the child section. Am I under a misunderstanding there?
No, that is correct.
So a child can walk into our library and can check out material. That's the whole idea of moving this to the adult
A
section.
child under the age of 12 can or cannot.
Or a
do
child that's 12, or a child that's 13, or a child that's 14.
that.
or a
So
child that's 15.
teenagers are able to walk around by themselves.
They're children, yeah.
So what's the old,
Yes.
a question for the librarians. What is the youngest age allowed in the library unaccompanied?
Children under 12.
So 12 and up are allowed to come in unaccompanied. So an 11-year-old down cannot come in unaccompanied. And we're trying to protect these children from knowing that there was racism in the United States at one point and there were lynchings, which is an odd thing because that is part of the history, you know. And now, this is a book that's recommended for ages 3 to 7, so that's like 8-year-olds to 7th grade, so that's 13-year-olds. How on earth, if I'm a 10-year-old or an 11-year-old, and I got a letter from my parents, how do I even know how to find a book like this if it's in the adult section? This is part of what's confusing me. If Mrs. Pockets winds up in the adult section, how is a kid going to ever find that book? Or wouldn't this be at least better designated to adult review, the adult section, as opposed to the adult section? Because it's not an adult book. That at least puts it at 12 and up. And unless we're just trying to pretend there was never any lynching in the United States, and every child should never know about it, then that's one thing. But if we're really just trying to give kids, my grandchildren, your grandchildren, other people's children, access to get the books at age 12, how do they find health, whatever the name of that book is, Hellfire?
So
How do they find it?
I want to make sure I understand your position. So is your position there is never a image of violence or death that is inappropriate for a child?
No, I'm not, that is not my position. My position is, if you don't want this book in the children's section, in the, what we now call the youth section, correct? Is kids 11 and under youth section?
No, it's still considered children's. We have
Okay, so it's
children's
still
and
called
then young
children's.
adult and adult. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so, no, I don't want that in the children's section necessarily.
So it is in the children's section.
Okay, so it's from 3rd grade to 7th grade is it's published reading level, okay? So, but putting it in the adult section as opposed to the young adult section, kind of basically puts it on ice. Mrs. Pockets, which just by the name of that book kind of gives me pause to think, why should that be in the adult section? Is there a reason?
My recommendation was to move, there were some books on that had to do with violence on my list, the last 3. And apparently that was one that got inappropriately categorized as gender confusion. My recommendation was to move the ones with violence into the young adult section.
Young adult.
But the motion was to move everything on this list to the adult section.
Right, so, can you
the children that do have permission, let's say, to check out whatever books, or the teenagers that have permission to check out whatever books, is there something about gender confusion that we are trying to protect them from knowing about? Is that the particular reason that we want these books out of the hands of children or teenagers?
Yes, I would argue that gender confusion, the idea of telling someone that boys aren't really boys, they can be girls, and girls aren't really girls, they can be boys, and that you should advocate for, encourage the dismembering of healthy sex organs. I don't think that that's appropriate for children. So I think telling them that they should take, chemicals that would, permanently affect their body and prevent them from having children if they're female, or maybe even breastfeeding if they're female. I think those things are dangerous. I think, one, they're not factually correct. A boy can't be a girl, and a girl can't be a boy. Quite honestly, I would argue, and I don't know if the board would agree with it, but I would argue that we can remove these books simply on the accuracy standard, because boys can't be girls. So we need a book that encourages someone to believe a girl can become a boy or a boy can be a girl. That's not accurate. So I would advocate that we can remove that on an accuracy standard. Now, the board may not be support for that, and I would understand that if somebody did agree with me. But yes, I would argue that these are dangerous things to tell a child, particularly children who are going through puberty, who already feel like they're in the wrong body or they don't fit. Telling them that they should take a permanent action that could forever mutilate their bodies is not appropriate. So I would say it's not appropriate.
To have a follow-up on
Sure.
that. So there's a book on your list called Welcome to Your Period, and I know that you had put that it promotes gender confusion, and it says discussion of female anatomy as another reason. Is there something specific about gender confusion in the book about periods? Does it say, is there language in it that promotes? I'm just trying to understand what language is in the book that promoted gender confusion.
Yeah, give me a chance to look that up, and I would point out that what page are you looking at?
That is on page 8 of your list.
So, the language that says discuss females' anatomy, and then also the column at the far right, that was written by staff.
Right.
So I didn't list that as a reason to remove the book.
Okay.
Give me a moment, and I'll try to find my notes on that.
Okay.
All right, so on page 156 of that book, it talks about misgendering. It says, when others refer to a person as being a gender that is not how they identify. For example, calling someone she if they identify as he, or vice versa. And then on page 107, there is explanation. It says transgender children, adolescents, and adults have existed as long as time. Just as we now have the medical technology to help girls and women manage their periods, doctors can also help transgender adolescents who don't want to have any periods. Doctors can prescribe hormones to try to block or stop periods and other physical changes. Fortunately, society is gaining understanding of transgender people and their rights and needs. If this feels familiar to you, the best option is to speak to a parent or caregiver as well as a doctor or an adult you trust. So this is quite literally encouraging children who may feel uncomfortable in their body to please don't interrupt. We're trying to conduct our business. So this is quite literally encouraging a vulnerable child to take a permanent action that they may one day horribly regret. And this is not a hypothetical. A detransitioner has very recently sued the doctor and won a $2 million settlement, which quite honestly I've seen a very moving interview. That money is, it could be $100 million, it would be.
Kind of follow up. So I appreciate your sentiments, and I wonder if we're at a disagreement here because of, I heard this phrase recently and I'm going to repeat it, and it's that a library, a public library especially, is not a museum of acceptable ideas. So it doesn't have to be that every idea expressed in every book in the library is acceptable to every person in our community, right? Obviously, you didn't agree with what you just read, but there are other people in our community that do agree with it. And I would even further say that that book that you just read from is more of a guardrail for a child seeking for information about that than, say, TikTok, YouTube, just Googling information. I'd rather have a child have access to a book like this that's been thoughtfully researched, even if you don't agree with, what's in it. And it said, as you read out loud, ask an adult, ask a trusted adult about this and see what they say. It's not just, okay, you have these feelings and now you can just act on them. So I see the books in the library as guardrails because I prefer a child to be reading these books than just Googling random things and hoping for the best. That's just my opinion.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Beth?
I think we could be here all night going through individual books. The motion was to take the body of books as a whole, and I'd like to call for the question.
Okay, call for the question, so that
Can you
it's not
repeat the
debatable.
motion, please?
She's calling the question, so this is whether or not to vote to end debate and move forward with the vote.
Sorry.
All right, it's not debatable. All in favor of calling the question, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Opposed?
No, I'm not opposed. I'm just abstaining.
Okay. Yeah, in the future, if you just want to abstain to a voice vote or really any vote, you can just not vote, and then that counts as abstaining.
Can I explain my abstaining? And the reason why I'm abstaining is because I really think that we need more time to look book by book before we move them. And that's the reason why I'm abstaining. I'm not agreeing with any of the parts.
All right, the ayes have it, so we will move to the question. So the question is to take both lists, act on them together, and move all of them to the adult section of the library. So I believe we'll probably want a roll call vote. All right, so we'll do a roll call vote.
No.
I'm sorry. Yeah, it's going to be a roll call vote.
Can you repeat it? Because I missed it.
Yes, we're going to take a roll call vote, and this is on the motion to act on both of these lists and move all the books on both lists to the adult section.
Oh, okay.
All right, so if you would please begin again.
No. Ms. Allison Belt says no.
Yes.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Abstain.
Yes.
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 Yes. You adopt. All right, moving to the next item on our agenda.
Motion to adjourn.
Seeing that motion, is there a second?
Mr. York?
Seeing second, all in favor of adjourning, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right.
I haven't seen too many Second Baptists. Yeah. Hey, did a good job. Thank you.
Yes, it is. I'm so glad you figured it out. Yay! Have you been waiting the whole time to tell me that?
Yeah, I think I was like, because I couldn't get it at first, yeah.
I had to ask a friend for help.
Well, I do see why it was pretty York, and I was like, some of those are like, I was like, oh. Thank you.
I see you made it.
I did. It's almost held the sign since I did.
Right.
As long as you're not right. Yeah. Oh.
And that's what we something like on Google Docs.
They move them to the adult section, which is basically.
That's what it's going to end up being.
A book about it until
I agree. I 100% agree with that. And I'm ignorant.
We're gonna do a group huddle outside. I just I'm passing along the message.
Well, I guess at least we go on
Yeah.
it.
Ari, Mary Louise is not okay. You keep an eye on her son right now. Yeah. She kind of she ran out.
No, I get it. I was getting bit. Like, I felt it in my chest and my throat.
I do.
Oh.
What kind of stickers do they have? Oh, give me the trans one. That's the one they
Layla wants to do a group huddle outside.
Group huddle right now? Oh, yeah, I can do that.
Like everyone.
I have to sign something on it. Yes,
Let me not stand in front of the camera.
No. Why are you sorry? No, I don't because you're so fast. I was fine.
I'm tired of
I was complimented on my squat. Oh, look, they're getting pictures together. How adorable.
Can you pick one for me? That's surprised me. Pick me a good one. It's for my wife.
Right.
Oh, perfect.
Easy mode.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Over there trying to get us all
Oh, yeah, Marcy, she used to be on the board, and then she quit. Too much.
I get it.
10%.
I get what they're trying to do with the stickers, but the staff is just going to have to clean those up. Library board won't do it. None of them are going to see it. It's going to be the staff who work here.
So we should, yeah, we'll pick
That's what you're saying?
You do
One of us is going to stickers for everyone to have down below. And so Ari is doing everyone a favor.
Thank you.
Okay, Ella, there's a group huddle happening outside currently. Okay? Okay. Mary Louise is apparently not okay, and I don't want to leave her stuff.
Where is she at?
She is outside, I think.
Okay.
I'm going to end the live. Hi! Bye, everyone!